Shooting Podcast. Energized by Gamebore US. The ultimate ammunition. If clay target shooting is a passion of yours, then stick around as we speak with some of the best in the industry about what it takes to shoot this game. Follow us at The Clay Lab on YouTube and Spotify. The Cade Faetche Shooting Podcast is also brought to you by The Clay Lab, Blazer USA, Ranger, Castellani USA, Autopro, and Westside Sporting Grounds. Here's your host, Cade Faetche of Cade Faetche Instruction.
Hey guys, welcome to Cade Faetche Podcast. I'm here with Dominic Bethel, Gamebore US 2024 Jack Links Cup. It's Friday afternoon. We're here in the lodging house. We're 2 days into the shoot, Dominic. How are you feeling about Jack Links? You've been shooting pretty well.
Yeah, I have shot pretty well. A little bit surprised by it. It's been fun. The weather's been awesome. I left Georgia. It was 32 degrees. Got here. It's in the 70s. I'm not going to complain about that. Targets have been fun. People are going to say what they're going to say about the targets, but I've had a good time. Had great squad mates. Got lucky on some random squatting, which is not always the case. So definitely having a lot of fun. Hanging out at the Gamebore tent. We've been, passing out some Gamebore beer and just hanging out with people, getting some hats into the hands of those that want it, and also having some fun with the Gamebore challenge coins, and had David hide one of those, and so that's a lot of fun being had down here.
Yeah. So about the Gamebore coins, one of them's been found, right?
Yeah, one of them was found, and hopefully all of them will be found. Obviously This will be aired after the event, so hopefully they'll all be found. But we'll probably be doing it at more events. We'll be changing up what we're giving away and stuff like that. Not sure what that'll look like, but my stepdad actually made those coins, and so he just sent a ton of them to my house. So we've got enough for all the events. When we do it, if they find it, they get to keep the coin. The guy who found it today, he was probably college kid. That was his first question. He's like, hey, like ammo and hat's cool, but can I keep the coin?
Yeah.
And he was ecstatic just to be able to keep it. And all of his buddies were like, wait, what? Because they said like, well, we'll split the flat of ammo, but you can't split a coin. So this kid was like, I'm keeping this, and he was pumped. So it's pretty cool.
Well, this is probably not your first time down here at Quail Creek, is it? You've been here a few times?
This is actually my second time.
Yeah.
I did come down last year with it being really kind of the first year of getting Gamebore under my belt, post acquisition, and so yeah, happy to be back. I mean, I really do enjoy this event.
And what all is Gamebore sponsoring here at Jack Links?
I think we were the shuttle cart sponsor. I mean, that's I don't honestly remember if we were anything else, but I know we were that because I keep seeing the shuttle carts go by with our logo on it.
Yeah.
So.
Now, I was talking to one of the guys today, one of the Jack Links. There's a ton of crew right here, but one of them standing in the lunch line with him today. He was telling me I'm one of 20 shuttle guys. I'm like, there's 20 of them.
Yeah, there's a lot out there. There's a lot, and you know what? I've actually seen even the shuttle stops. They've got our logo on the shuttle stops on a fairly big sign, and those shuttles have been moving. And I got to also say, like, I think the shooters probably really appreciate it because I've seen those shuttles, especially before the main event, they've been loaded with people,
Yeah.
So people that, couldn't get a golf cart or didn't want to bring a golf cart, they've been using them.
Yeah,
so they've been
100%.
running everywhere.
Exactly. Well, that's a good thing.
Plus, this place is huge, so,
I mean, it's almost too big.
It's a long shot. You drive to Feetask and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, 15-minute cart ride to Feetask. You can get lost.
Absolutely.
So, taking a step back, for those of the people that don't know who Dominic Bethel is, they just know you as the guy, the new Gamebore guy. Tell us about yourself, how you got in the sport just a little bit. When did you start shooting? Was it an adult? Was it a kid? Your dad take you out? How did that all start?
Yeah, so, as a kid, I was pretty heavily involved in baseball and basketball and running track, and, shooting clays was something we did, kind of seasonally to get ready for whatever hunting season my dad and I were going to go on. And, we had a family friend, business partner of my dad, who was a member of a gun club up in North Georgia. and we would go shoot skeet and trap with him. I don't even know if they had sporting clays back then, but I know we shot a lot of skeet and trap. And I mean, I loved it. And, you know, I even did a competition one random weekend. I did a competition. And I remember my dad asking, you know, is this something you want to do? And I was like, yeah, that was awesome. You know, let's do it. And he said, you know, son, like, you're stretched pretty thin already. You know, you're going to have to choose what to give up to do this. And I wasn't, at the time, willing to give up anything. You know, I mean, I was pretty devoted to basketball, and at the time, you know, running track, and I was running a lot and playing a lot of ball. And so I kind of had put it on the back burner. And, you know, as I got out of college, we started, some of my buddies and I started duck hunting a lot more. And, you know, we would use clay shooting, and a buddy of mine said, well, let's go to this competition. I was like, I'm in. You know, I mean, I've always liked competing. I mean, I raced motorcycles, sports as a kid, you know, like, sure, competition, let's go. And so fell right into that, and, you know, a few other things happened, and here we are.
Here you are.
Yeah.
So other than Gamebore, what else do you have your hands in? Obviously the Meadows and Gamebore are probably the two primary things. Do you have anything else going on personally that you want to?
Yeah, well, you know, prior to taking over at Gamebore, you know, I had a career in IT consulting, and that's kind of what I got into right out of college, was kind of the IT industry, and then moving into the consulting world. And I had started a, you know, tiny little ammo sales company out of my garage, and you know, it was kind of as at the need of some friends saying, hey, we need ammo, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, you know what, I could probably go, you know, start getting some ammo for us together. And, you know, buying one pallet at a time for just buddies turned into, you know, from word of mouth, turned into buying, you know, several pallets a week. And honestly, getting those deliveries to my house, and my wife was like, you know, what are you doing?
How are you unloading these pallets of ammo at your
Man,
house?
I live in a subdivision, okay? And I had 18-wheelers like backing down the street onto my street, and just dropping it and rolling it into the garage. So I was, you know, I kept getting nervous about my neighbors saying something about all these 18-wheelers. I mean, it was pretty regular for a little while, and it was wild. And you know, I was getting off of work, and I was putting my daughter to bed, and then I was driving all over to meet people who needed some ammo, and my wife was just getting really fed up with it. And she said, well, what's the plan here? And I was like, I think if I had some type of retail outlet, you know, we could make that work better. You know, and like by that time, I mean, heck, I was already selling Gamebore. You know, I mean, I found out from a friend of mine, a good guy named Steve. He said something about, you know, hey, did you hear Gamebore's going to make a return? And, you know, he had friends that had bought Gamebore back from a owner, you know, a while back, you know, when it was imported into Georgia before. So they were all saying, hey, this is awesome. And so I thought to myself, well, I want to carry that, you know, if it's such a good product and, you know, it's got a great name to it, I got to get my hands on it. So that's when I had reached out to Doug, and, you know, Doug was shipping it to my business address, aka my garage. And, you know, we started kind of getting it in the hands of Georgia shooters again. And, you know, honestly, that was actually pretty fun being in Georgia. You know, there were shooters in Georgia that knew of it before.
Yeah.
And, I've shot this stuff in the 90s, and, you know, that was pretty fun. You know, and there were people that are still around that, you know, had remembered it.
To be able to reintroduce that.
Yeah.
I remember when it first came back, for me, it was the first time it was ever there, because
right.
2017, Doug and Dwight out there in Liberty, Texas, I mean, I can remember going to 1-100 Gun Club out by Beaumont, and Dad and I riding past the Gamebore trailer, and I'm like, what the heck is Gamebore E? I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I couldn't even say it right. And, you know, and then Doug and Dwight kind of reintroduced it in a great way. And it's good to see that those guys, because back in the early 2000s, like you said, it was here and then it left.
Yep.
And it seems like people really did miss it. Now, you dive into this world of you're selling it out of your garage to buddies, step above Facebook Marketplace. And so what was that ultimate decision to say, okay, I'm going to go after Gamebore specifically?
Yeah, so...
What set it apart for you?
Well, pretty early on, for me, Gamebore was special. Just because I appreciated the quality. The product itself stood out. It's what, at the time, and then taking over Meadows, like we obviously carried multiple products, but I chose Gamebore. I wanted to shoot Gamebore. I liked the product. And, pretty early on, I had told Doug and Dwight, like, hey, I want to crack at this. When you're ready to, move on and retire, I want, dibs at it. I want a shot at it. And, Doug was pretty frank with me, like, hey, we've got a couple people that have expressed interest in it, and, we'll keep you in mind. So my heart has been in Gamebore from kind of like the first time I, got some. I've always liked it, and that's kind of what drove me to say this is what I want to do. These guys had finally decided to retire, and I got a call from Doug one night, and he said, "Man, I'm done. I don't think I can do this anymore. As far as I'm young enough that I can travel and enjoy being retired with my wife, and talk to Dwight, and he and I are kind of on the same page. And heck, you see Dwight. He's here at the Quail Creek, and he's doing awesome. He and his wife are traveling, and they're seeing their grandkids. And I think for both of them, it was the right move as far as the right time to retire before you can't do those things in your life. Travel with your wife, shoot when you want to shoot, golf when you want to golf. Drive up to see your grandkids. They both have grandkids kind of out of state from them. So, I got the opportunity and kind of jumped on it. And I was fortunate enough that, we made the deal work. And it was, I kind of ran Gamebore in the Meadows while also doing my IT consulting job for about 5 months last year before it was like, hey, I'm out. Full time. This is what I got to do. And that was really just because of a transition period. Trying to make sure that certain things, ducks were in a row. Doug and Dwight were awesome with the transition, and making sure that customers knew who I was, and that Gamebore was in good hands. And I'd like to think that we did a fantastic job transitioning that and retaining the people that in businesses and individuals that really like the product, and making them feel secure that we're not going anywhere.
Yep.
We're here to stay, and we're going to continue to establish the brand in the U.S. market.
So once you took over, the Gamebore US role, tell us about what was it like to go to the factory, see the factory over there in the United Kingdom. I know you were at the World English at EJ.
Yep. So, funny thing about importing a product from England is you can go to England on a business trip and, see some things and awesome shoot. And it was, before I go into the factory and all that, I'll just say, like, the experience of going to shoot overseas is unreal. I've gone overseas a couple times now, and it's an amazing experience. Not just, from the shooting, but just being able to see stuff and meet people, and you meet people from all over the world, and it's such an awesome experience, and I really enjoyed that. And so EJ was awesome too. You hear from everyone that's ever been, like, what an experience it is, and it's definitely different, but it's extremely well done, and you see why people want to go back year in and year out. And from there, I drove up to Hull, England, where the Gamebore factory is, and had a day of meetings, and got to see the factory and see what makes Gamebore. And I'll tell you, and obviously people are gonna be like, oh, he's biased or whatever, but seeing it in person, it was pretty eye-opening. For me, is just like how much really goes into it. You can say all day, like, oh, it's graded 7 times, or it's got diamond shot, and whatever. But at the end of the day, when you see how much effort goes into dropping lead shot, melting lead to lead shot, dropping it down a tower, cools, then gets sorted, then gets graded, and then gets the diamond shot process. It took me, probably 5 seconds to say that, yet that process is a very elaborate process.
Yep.
It doesn't just happen. And the people that do that and create a finished product, it was incredible. It really was. And, seeing the machines work and, each of the employees that's responsible for watching those machines, getting the product in boxes, it just even bigger appreciation for the product. Especially the fine details as far as the wad and, making the quad seal, making the diamond shot what it is. It really is unreal. I mean, it's not like, not every manufacturer is doing that. There's definitely some that are dropping their own lead and there's some other companies that make a good product. But, when you truly see everything that happens in that factory in-house, it's unreal.
100%.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know about the quad seal, do you have anything that you want to talk about? Because that's some relatively new technology. Yeah.
So quad seal is, first rolled out in our Onyx product. And it's essentially you're putting 4 gas sealing rings at the base of the wad. Not every wad is going to have, quite frankly, I think we're the first that's got 4. Typically you'll see 1 or 2. And those gas rings are really just to help keep the gas behind the wad, and help build that velocity. And ideally by having 4, you're creating a little bit more efficiency with your powder burn and able to more consistently achieve your velocities. And quite frankly, there's some level of recoil reduction because you're able to be more efficient with powder, not use necessarily quite as much. So it's very awesome that we were the first year of that, and it was pretty exciting. And we're not done with quad seal. In England there's a lot more quad seal development for some of the non-toxic stuff, but we're going to see that more trickle into the target load. So we're not done with that, and that's going to be pretty exciting to see how everyone gets their hands on it and gets to see hey, this is a difference maker.
So this past year in 2023, Gamebore released 2 new shells, target loads, the Rose Gold and Onyx. But other than the target loads, which we'll talk a little bit more about, is there any other game loads that are going to be kind of coming over to the U.S. that are new and exciting?
Yeah, so I was pretty excited last year to also introduce Pigeon Extreme. Pigeon Extreme is a product that overseas is manufactured for pigeon shooting. It's George Digweed's signature pigeon load, and this is a funny story to me. I had a guy, I think he's in Virginia. If he's listening to this, God, I hope I got that right. But, he called me and he said, "Hey, really familiar with Gamebore, you need to make a pigeon load. Us pigeon guys, we need a pigeon load." And I said, "Yeah, I'm not sure." And I, kind of pushed him off. And 2 weeks later, I feel like I got another call from him. "Hey man, have you thought about that pigeon load?" I'm like, "Well, what do you want?" He's like, "I want, 1.25 ounces, 1300, 7.5 and 8s. I'm like, "Yeah, but come on, man. We don't make that. We make it in 5s and 6s. Oh, pigeon guys, we need 7.5 and 8s. All right, we'll think about it." 2 weeks later, "Hey man, have you thought about it? You know what? Tired of you calling me. We're gonna get it made." And he was ecstatic. He's like, "I can't wait to test it." And so we brought in a Pigeon Extreme. It's kind of an unexpected product release for us, but it's something that's extremely popular, elsewhere, and let's try it. And so we got it in, and pigeon shooting here is a little different. Don't want to go too into the details of that, but the people that have gotten it, they loved it. I mean, we had great success with people getting their hands on it, and pigeon shooters are scientific with regards to their loads. They count every little
very analytical.
Yeah, super analytical. They're gonna, if you say it's 1,300, they're gonna check you on it 10 times over. But it was awesome. And actually, I just got an order from Quail Creek today, last night. Them saying, hey, we had some, ran out, ship more. So it's been really well received. Last year, we also introduced our 2.5-inch shotgun shell to the market in the form of 12 gauge, 20 gauge, and 28. 16 gauge. Oof, almost got that wrong. 12, 20, 16 gauge. And, that was something that through the pandemic, the existing manufacturers, just were really struggling to make that product, and maybe didn't even prioritize it. I don't know. All I know is somebody or a group of people in the 2.5-inch, those old English side-by-side, old English or old American side-by-sides, caught wind that we made them, and my phone was just ringing off the hook every day, emails, phone calls. And so we brought it in, and again, it was something that we had to some of it we had to special order for the U.S. market because people in the U.S. like to shoot their old English guns at targets, and some places in the world they just want to shoot birds with them. So we ordered those in, and they've also been really well received, and we're super happy with what that's done. And there's a lot of people with old English 16 gauges that can finally shoot their guns again, whenever they want.
Very niche crowd, but they got some.
Yeah, it is super. You think Sporting Clays is a small community? You're talking about a tiny group, but they're also super appreciative. And what's also so cool about that group is you're helping them breathe life and continue shooting a very vintage gun.
Yep.
And the excitement level for those guys is a whole new level from what, guys like you and I are, for a target load. It's just, they love it. It's special to them. And we've loved being a part of that. So that's really what last year looked like for us.
So the Onyx and Rose Gold target loads, how has that been received?
I was pretty shocked that, how the Rose Gold was received, in the sense that people who were long-time white gold shooters, who, maybe now are a little bit older, but they really appreciated the quality of the white gold, turned to us and said, hey, recoil's getting a little tougher on me in age, and I want to try Rose Gold. And then they were hooked. We started having people coming up to us at shoots saying how much they loved Rose Gold. And, it replaced a good amount of, not replaced, but it definitely, we saw some people transition from white gold to Rose Gold, and some guys doing that. And the other thing we saw in a big way is the number of female shooters who maybe historically never touched Gamebore because they thought that white gold was too much and they wanted a little softer recoiling product, and they grabbed on to Rose Gold. And we also, it was amazing how many husbands and wives that shoot together came and said, oh, we both shoot it and we love it. It's something we can put in the garage and we can both, grab and go to the range for, a day of shooting clays. And it was awesome. It really was. And even people who historically maybe shot Evo, but they wanted, something a little different. They valued the diamond shot of the white gold, but they didn't want to go to that high velocity. Quite frankly, that's a step up. They stepped up from Evo to Rose Gold to get that diamond shot and a little softer recoiling. So it was great. And the Onyx is performed exactly where we thought it would. It's definitely not the shell for everyone. It's not the shell that someone's going to go out and shoot a whole round of clays with.
It's not a daily driver.
Not a daily driver, but it's 1,400 and it kills at distance. And the tech behind the quad seal wad in that, with the new powder that's in that product, coupled with some diamond shot extra, that's what it is, the diamond shot extra. And anybody who has shot that product knows what I'm talking about. at distance, it will slaughter a target. And it's unbelievable.
I didn't really dabble in it too much, but I remember AK, Austin Kempstead, and Kevin really started shooting them a little bit when they first came out, and I'm like, what do y'all think? What do y'all think? And all they could do was smile.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, Kevin DeMichael is a junkie when it comes to like speed and payload, right? So you tell him, he can only shoot 1 ounce. He's going to say, well, what's the fastest I can get? No, Onyx is going to fit that bill. Bigger, better shell is up him. So he was ecstatic about it. He's definitely been shooting it, and the vast majority of the sales for that product are for people that it's like their handicap. Like they're gonna reach in the bag when they see that target that's just got a little bit of extra in them, and maybe they're sitting there scratching their head like, how am I going to break this? And that Onyx, they throw it in and they reach out and touch it, and it's can be a game changer for some, and some of it's mental, but at the same time, like you can't really deny the breaks that shell delivers downrange.
100%. Not to go back too far here, but talking about target loads, I think that what y'all did with the rose gold was extremely precise measure, and I think it targeted that, because for me personally, I've always heard that, the white gold's too much, but I don't want to go down to an Evo. I don't know. I want that diamond shot, but I don't want to go down to an Evo. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, there's nothing that in between. That rose gold seems to have really found that sweet spot right in the middle. Because I was talking to a guy today, Will and I shot the Super Sporting today, 2:30 this afternoon. This guy named Mike, I think his home club's in Northbrook, and he was talking to me about, he's like, I love to shoot, but by the end of the day, if I shoot 200, he said, I just put in the rose golds because they're just a little bit nicer to me at the end of the day. I can't keep up like I used to when I was younger. I'm like, well, that's great, because he loves to shoot white gold, but by the end of the day, he transfers over to those rose golds.
Yeah, and I mean, look, everybody feels recoil different, and there's nothing wrong with, the guy that can take a beating out of something fast. There's nothing wrong with admitting that you want something a little softer. And I mean, heck, I'm even in the boat where during the height of the ammo shortage, I switched to Dark Storm just because, we had a little bit more of it, and how am I gonna withhold white gold from someone that really loves it? I didn't care. But at the same time, even me, I do prefer white gold. Like, that's my go-to shell. That's all I'm going to shoot now. With the exception of something we'll go into in a little bit. But, that's my thing. I've got friends who, they like white gold, but they say that rose gold delivers just as good as breaks at distance with softer recoil, and if they prefer that, great. I mean, we all hear the stories of the guy who breaks a 70-yard bird with, a 7/8 ounce 1160 or something crazy like that. But as long as it works for them and they're comfortable and enjoying the game, at the end of the day, that's really what matters.
100%.
And so that's it.
So you are the one and only distributor of Gamebore in the United States, but you do have dealers. So tell us about that mindset of what you're doing with your dealers around America and how that's been going for you.
Yeah, so, with the change of ownership, we moved the headquarters from Texas to Georgia. And, obviously before the transition, my home club was the number one dealer. And, when we did that move, it kind of left a vacancy, in Texas as far as who was selling the product. And, there were also, a turn of events as far as ammo being a little bit more available this year. And so we kind of set a plan to acquire some dealers in some select locations, and try to find some people where Gamebore was underserved. One of the calls that right off the bat I always got was, oh man, I live in, wherever, middle of Oklahoma. Where can I get some ammo? Oh, okay, your tournament shirt. Yeah, I love shooting an SCA. I'd like to try maybe 5 cases or whatever. And that's not our model. We're going to sell pallets of product and work through dealers and some of that network. And we had to find a solution to that.
Yeah.
So, we had started obviously working through some natural inbound emails from some people and some businesses in some areas that definitely fit what we were looking for. And it's a business decision on both sides, right? Not every gun club or not every business that reaches out to us is going to think it's a good fit after talking to us, and that's fine. But there's definitely some that we feel like it's a good fit. They feel like it's a good fit. Let's form some type of partnership and work together in that market. And we were really fortunate last year that we were also able to proactively reach out to some people that we thought would be a good fit and work with them. And so we did, kind of solidify our existing dealer network from Doug and Dwight and make sure that they were on board and they wanted to work with us. And then we kind of expanded that as well. And so we started working with clubs like Snake Creek in Oklahoma. Able Spire had reached out to me and just said, hey man, like could use something, to differentiate, something a little different. Think you fit the ticket. Boom, perfect. We worked with a couple other clubs up in the Northeast. I mean, Anthony started carrying our product. I know, he's obviously a big Winchester guy, but up in that Northeast market, there's guys that value our product. So we started working with Anthony. We just added Greater Houston, and that for me was I was a goal to get a dealer in the Texas market that valued the product, has the type of shooters that would value the product, and I think Greater Houston is kind of that perfect area.
100%. Greater Houston, that marketplace, 100%.
I mean, the shooters there, they know Gamebore. They've known Gamebore, and they value the product. They needed a way to get it, and they stood up and said, "Yeah, let's take it." And we've also worked a little bit closer with the National Shooting Complex, and they're actually carrying the product. I know this weekend is the rodeo shoot. They got white gold there for those kids. I think they even have some Evo ounce and 8 there. And so, we're hoping that that'll grow as well. And, quite frankly, we'll see where else we can go. But we've, all in all, I would say, for anybody listening that doesn't know where their closest dealer is, they can go to our website, GameboreUS.com, and find a dealer that's closer to them. And the other thing I want to add to that, and I tell people this all the time, because at the end of the day, the shooters are the ones that can kind of not dictate, but they can certainly help drive decisions. And I tell people all the time, like if your club doesn't carry it, talk to them. Why? And if enough people go to a certain club and say, hey man, I really like this product, like you should carry it, I'll buy it. It could help them, helps us, and we can get some product in some parts of the country that maybe are underserved still, that we're not even aware of. And that's something I'm kind of still shocked at today, is how many calls we get from some corners of the country that's just like, wow, like people have heard about us, and they've tried it at a regional, and they go home and they say, man, that's what I want to shoot. So talk to your gun clubs, convince them that that's the right move to make, or at least give it a shot. And
you got to get the ball rolling. I mean, it's a democracy when it comes to the clubs for a majority of the time, not all the time. But I mean, if you get that word spoke to the people in the right positions,
actually, a perfect example is there's a club in Indiana that had a good friend had said something to. He's in the Kentucky area, but he had said something to them about hey, why aren't you carrying Gamebore? And come to find out, after we had started doing business with them, the guy in charge had said something to a few club members and said, what do you think about Gamebore? And turns out, they all wanted it, but they had never said anything. And so he calls me and he says, hey man, we're going to get a couple pallets. We're going to try this out. And here we are, not even a year in, and they've taken many more, and they're putting these, our product in the hands of the people that want it. And it's a great relationship between us and the club, because he's able to steadily supply his shooters that want it, and he's not scrounging around or trying to look for product for his customers. It's been a really good relationship.
So I got to ask you the question, because you're the shell guy, you have all the answers.
Oh.
Is there any concern, or what's the shell availability like? Do you have any concerns for the future? Are you feeling good? Because I know we've had some few scares in the past 3-4 years. People, doomsday preppers, they want to know if their shells are going to be there. Are you confident in that?
What I'm confident in is that our existing customer base is going to be supplied. If you have a relationship with Gamebore or a dealer with Gamebore, your product is going to come. And that's something I'm confident saying. I know last year, especially towards the end of 2023, there was a lot more chatter about availability of gunpowder in the industry. I've got several contacts at some of other ammo companies that, the things that are being said in the market, but also by our own president, who directly addressed the concern that our government has about the depletion of our government weapons from sending them overseas without necessarily replacing them is a problem for our government.
Yeah.
But obviously a lot of those products use gunpowder that comes from, you got to get gunpowder from somewhere. There's only so much. And so there was obviously some amount of concern from the overall industry of, what's this mean for the consumer side of things? So it's something that we've been following pretty closely, and I don't have an answer right now. I really don't, because I think things are still so much in a development phase on what that actually means that companies like Winchester and Remington and Fiocchi and RC, nobody has the exact answer. And so we'll see. But like I said, Gamebore is in a great position as far as making sure that the U.S. shooter who loves the product is going to be able to get the product. I can't speak to everyone else, and I think there's a possibility that you could see some shortages in some capacity, but I don't know exactly what that looks like. I do know that there's a decent amount of product in the market, so for right now, it's a good time to be a shooter and feel like you have availability. But I would also say, if you're a tournament shooter and you don't have like a special reserve of shells, it's never a bad idea to have that. Just because we all are shooters, we all want to shoot, and I can't imagine a world where wouldn't have some product stashed away for a rainy day.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to hold it against you. You don't have a little genie in the bottle to tell you, but I think it's nice to hear from a supplier that there's a little bit of confidence, at least right now.
I mean, and I'm not going to name names, but there's some manufacturers who have kind of seen maybe a slight drop in their supply, and they're definitely responding to it. And I know to some degree some of the response they've done is pretty smart, and at scale it's a brilliant move what they're doing, but at the same time, what's not seen yet is the sustainability of that plan. And so we'll see how it plays out. Personally, I'm ecstatic that we can continue to supply what we can with Gamebore, and we do have room to grow. So, and there's markets that we're not serving with Gamebore that we need to. So we're still in a mode where we want to do more in certain markets, and we want to kind of grow what we can do with some additional gun clubs. And when we do that, we're also taking into consideration if things did get bad. We want to make sure that we're working with a number of clubs that if things go south, we can still supply our existing customer base. We never want to get in a place where we can't supply our customer base. So that's definitely a focus for us. And, I think some of our clubs definitely appreciate that because we keep them full of shells, and we're, we all, every manufacturer has a phase or period where maybe we have less of one product than we want, but, we get it as quickly as we can, and we make sure that they get taken care of. So that's going to continue for us for sure.
We know that you're sponsoring a little bit of the Jack Links Cup here. What is Gamebore's plans? Where are we going to see you this year on the championship tour? Anything else? Any other big shoots?
Yeah, this year's a big year, not just for Gamebore, but for everybody. Even the shooter, you got to have a little bit of sympathy for them because some pocketbooks are going to hurt this year, with the championship tour and, the addition of 2 world championships. It's a big year. And, for us, we typically, we want to be a part of World Championships, so we'll be at both World Championships. And I know that means Anthony's at M&M, and we'll be at the World Championship in Hudson, Wisconsin, and we're ecstatic for both of those. But we're also going to be at the U.S. Open at Northbrook. We will be at a good number of the regionals that this year it just so happens that some of the regionals are hosted at some of our better customers. So we kicked that off at the Western Regional. Pinnacles got their regional in March. We supplied him with a ton of ammo. I mean, if you are a Gamebore fan in Arizona, there is a ton out there for that event. And, so we'll be there. I will actually be there for a couple days. We're not necessarily going to set up, but I will be there. I'm excited to go out there. I'm actually never shot in Arizona, so
you're in for a treat.
I'm excited and nervous, because everybody talks about it being very different, but just look at the bird, right?
Yeah.
We'll be at the Southeast Regional. That's like in our backyard in Savannah. I'm super excited about that one, mainly because I know Zach does an outstanding job. And I think that event is pretty much sold out, which shouldn't surprise anybody, because Forest City always does an outstanding job with whatever they do. Their attention to detail is unmatched. Gator Cup, talk about unmatched attention to detail.
Yeah.
We're a sponsor of Gator Cup, and we're always happy to be part of anything Rick does, because he makes it an experience no matter what. So also Northeast Regional, the Hopkins, those guys are great customers of ours as well. They do a great job. Excited to go up there and be a part of that. And I think that pretty much knocks it out for most of the major regionals, which we'll be a part of. We'll have some involvement with Ohio State. Cardinal Center has been a great customer, a great supporter of ours, and we want to support Jake and his staff any way we can. And then obviously we'll be at nationals. We can't miss nationals.
Can't miss out.
No, and I love nationals. I mean, I know people have mixed emotions on nationals, but I mean, it's a show.
Yep.
And I really do enjoy it, and just like the World Championships are shows, it's an awesome experience for anybody, and we're looking forward to nationals again this year.
So a little bit about, so we've talked about target loads, we've talked about some hunting loads. What about, I know that you've recently released some new other merchandise. You got some visors. I see some Grace Callahan visors out there. You got some hats. What can people look to see at the Gamebore tent other than
Grace
shells?
Callahan? She has been on my butt for before the deal went down. She was on Doug and Dwight. We need more visors. So yeah, we had a new website get launched last year. Something that was a lot more informational about our products. Obviously, as mentioned earlier, help people find dealers, and help them get the product a little easier. We also launched an online store on that website where people could buy hats, polos, we've got sweatshirts on there. We've got the new Gamebore vest that was released last year, which, for a down vest is probably the best deal you're ever going to find. My father-in-law hasn't stopped wearing it since I gave him one. So we're doing that. A lot of people that love the product, also, it's a passion. Shooting's a passion for them, and they want to, have the gear of the brands they love. You can't go to a shoot without seeing a Krieghoff shirt and a Beretta shirt, and we feel like that's a missed opportunity for us to, if people want a Gamebore hat, let's give it to them. So at all the events we go to, we'll have those. But we'll also, we have that online for people that want to order and have it shipped to their house. And, if you do order at your house, we typically sprinkle in some stickers, or, we got some car air fresheners. And, it's funny, we get emails with people like, hey, that was pretty cool, thank you. But, so yeah, we've definitely expanded that.
So I want to talk a little bit about the team. So for those of you listening that don't know, just to name a few names, Gamebore US and some are Gamebore UK, but you have Austin Kempstead, you have Tom C., David Radulovich, you have myself, you have Grace Callahan, Kevin DeMichael.
Griffin
Howe.
Yeah, Griffin Howe. Yep.
And we have a new one.
We have a new one.
So would you like to announce that one for the first time publicly?
Yeah, so, it's a local to us in Georgia. We just recently got Shelby Moon added to the team. And, Shelby, she's one of the top females in the country.
100%.
And, she's been putting in a lot of work. And, it wasn't that long ago that she kind of went off and became a coach, and that's her full-time job. And, she's been coaching a lot at the Meadows and a lot at Old Hudson, and, working with a lot of youth and adults and, people of all skill levels. And, she made a decision last year that she was going to shoot Gamebore. And I know she won a regional with it, which, is always a good confidence booster to make a change to a product that historically maybe you didn't shoot, and then win with it and say, this is the right thing for me. And I know she also got a runner-up and, part of the super squad. And so we're really happy to get Shelby, and make a deal with her. And, it's one of those things where, you choose the product and you show that you want to be a part of something and shoot, what you believe in. And it worked out. So very happy to add her. And, overall, like our team last year had amazing results. I know Kevin had a super consistent season, all through the year, got back on Team USA for who knows how many times. Like, the guy has been on Team USA,
He's a walking Team USA.
Yeah, I mean, incredible number, right? And, we had Griffin win a regional. That was awesome. I wasn't there, but I can't tell you how many text messages and phone calls I placed because it was a shoot-off with, Austin and Zach. And, so to have two Gamebore guys in the final, shoot-off was like, I just was sitting there like, oh, come on, what happened?
Refreshing on score.
Yeah, and for them to take first and second, for me, that was awesome. So they both had great results with that. And, you got third in Hungary for juniors. And, I don't know how many text messages I sent you, but over the course of the weekend, I think I was blowing your phone up. You're probably telling me,
yeah, I'm like,
leave me alone.
God, Dom, quit fangirling. No.
And so, and I know Grace had, some success in the year, and especially in Florida. And, heck, she did it again this year where she had some early success with
there
Florida.
in Vero, right?
Yeah, I mean, she stepped up and she's shooting really well. And I feel like I'm forgetting. Oh, Tom. I mean, Tom stepped up at Nationals, threw up a massive FETASC score. And, I know he wanted to squeak out a little bit more. But, I mean, dude, like, the guy, I know coming back from his arm fracture that he had that's a lot, you know. I know. We've all had injuries in some form of life. And, sometimes it's just really hard to come back. And, I mean, he blew it out. And then Austin, shot awesome, at Nationals, and he, got fourth place after a shoot off, and I mean that's awesome. So we're, team is doing awesome, and we're super proud of what they're doing, and we're also super excited to move into 2024 with the same folks, and try to make it a bigger and better year.
So, kind of going full circle here, we had the Onyx, we had the Pigeon Lows, we had Target and Game Woods. Is there any new nuggets of information that you're going to give us here?
Yeah, so, Rose Gold has been really successful as a 1 ounce product, and we've had some people express interest in, possibly doing an 1 1/8 load with the Rose Gold, so 1 1/8 1200. And I had a conversation, we had a meeting with Gamebore last year at Nationals, actually over dinner, where it was kind of tossed out like, hey, let's talk about this. And, the U.S. market is different, in several ways. And so Gamebore wants to respond to some of those differences. And we're going to release a Rose Gold 1 1/8. I think it's actually in production right now. And so, that's something that I know a lot of guys will be excited for. Just to, there's always going to be somebody who wants that full 1 1/8.
Yep.
And we're going to bring that product to market, early this year, probably spring is when it'll be here. I've also, had a ton of people, that love our sub gauge. Personally, I love 28 gauge. Like, it's one of the most fun events you can do. Even when you shoot like crap, you're having fun, so I can appreciate that. And so 410 has been the product that people have been asking for. We're finally going to bring that into the U.S. As a 7.5 shot load. I know people are going to be like, oh, well, I want 8. It's like, sorry, we're doing what we can, 7.5.
Can't have it all, man.
Yeah, so we're definitely bringing that in for some of the target guys that just love all those sub gauges. And I know that there's quite a bit of them that they want to shoot game for everything. So that'll be finally an answer for the 410. There's also a product that we'll be announcing soon. It's just a little bit of a twist on an existing product that I know people will be extremely happy for it. Something to give them a little bit of edge on some of those pesky targets. We'll have an answer for them here really soon. We just approved or reviewed the case stamp for it, and we've got the product getting loaded into the assembly machines right now to start loading something new. So pretty excited for that. Something that is a lot of people will really enjoy. But on top of that, we're going to continue to reach out, and I think we're going to try and see what we can do as far as a duck load for the next hunting season.
Is this a Kevin DeMichael special? Or?
Well, look, Kevin is, if he's not shooting clays, he's killing something.
Yeah.
Whether he's hunting ducks or geese or fishing or whatever. So
he was pretty angry at him this season, it looked like.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, they didn't have like the greatest season in Arkansas, but when they were there, like, he made, very valuable use of his time. So yeah, the duck load is something we're talking about. I can't commit to anything. It's something that's a little bit R&D, some stuff we're looking into and trying to work out. But it's something we'd love to do. I think it's something that overseas, Gamebore is known as one of the absolute top game loads, and we need to bring that to the U.S. We need to give the U.S. hunter the experience of using Gamebore products. And so step one is, getting that done. And we're going to not do exactly what's done in the UK and have something a little different. But first we gotta do some tweaking and see what we want to do with that. But I'm very hopeful, very optimistic, Gamebore waterfowl loads will be in the U.S. in force next year.
And I think that's something, I think you're 100% correct. I think a lot of, the American customer base doesn't even realize that half of Gamebore in, Gamebore UK is their game loads. A lot of their business is off of that, and that's just kind of something that hadn't come to fruition here, and hopefully we'll see it soon.
Yeah, anybody that spends any amount of time on the Gamebore UK website very quickly sees like it's a game, like game cartridge over there, and they make a phenomenal product. And I think every year at the British Shooting Show, they take top honors across the board with regards to hunting loads. So
there's a reason the company's called Gamebore, not Target Bore.
Exactly.
So
so we're definitely going to do that and see where we can take that in the future. I'm very excited about it, and not sure how else we can go from there.
Yeah, well, I think we touched a lot of bases here tonight. Like we said at the beginning, it's Friday night here. You have anything else that you want to talk about? Just present day Jack Links. You looking forward to anything?
Yeah, I would just say, the Jack Links crew does a phenomenal job at hosting and trying to deliver a superior experience. And, I can really appreciate it as a club owner myself, and because there's always been clubs or people that I look to deliver a superior experience, and I can definitely appreciate that Quail Creek's trying to elevate the game and elevate what they're doing. And in the past, I've said it many times that I looked to things that Rick Hemingway did, as wow, he's really trying to deliver a better experience for the shooter. It's not just a money grab, and I really appreciate that, and I've always tried to do that myself. And Zach Greta is at Forest City, same. I put him on the same caliber as always trying to elevate it. And, I'm sorry I can't say every name in the industry. I haven't been to every club. I haven't experienced everything. I definitely try to get out. But just in general, Quail Creek is definitely trying to do that. And I just appreciate it. And I think for shooters that haven't been here, you should always try to go to new places, and Quail Creek is one of them. In addition to going to any club that has great word of mouth from people, like believe them. Like the
100%.
Club owners are absolutely trying to give the best experience. I know Texas State this year is at the Browning Briley. I've always heard good things about that shoot as well. Unfortunately, I've never been to that one, but it's one where people hear things and it's like, believe the hype, because the clubs are genuinely trying to deliver, a superior experience. And we know that it's not a cheap game, but if we're all trying to deliver a superior experience, and definitely appreciate that. So,
well, I want to thank you for the time this late evening.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to start it off with somebody who's treated me well, and I'm really glad to have this podcast out and get the Gamebore word out. But
well, I think we actually need to say really quick for anybody who's still listening that you and I tied in fee task.
All right, everybody. Thank you.
I think if I had beat you, there might be some issues. So good job, in timing.
Well, Will can attest to this. We had this conversation. It was my last peg on Parkour 4, and I thought, I saw Dominic score. I ought to miss this A-bird for the second time, just so that he.
Well, actually, what's funny is I told David. I said, look, man, if I beat you, Doug is going to call you nonstop to harass you that you lost to me. And, knowing David really appreciate that. And he kind of chimed back in. He said, well, I am actually going to go completely straight until the last 3 targets, and I'm going to beat you by 1. Well, guess what he shot today? He shot a 97 and beat me by 1. So, good job, David.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate everybody listening. Thank you, Dominic, for being around.
Thank you.
We got a couple more days to shoot, but we'll do it again sometime.
Get after it.
Thanks for joining us. Remember to subscribe on YouTube and Spotify to the Clay Lab. That way, you never miss an episode. We'll catch you here next time on the Cade Faetche Shooting Podcast. Brought to you by the Clay Lab.